I have to sacrifice my life here on earth so that I will be rewarded in the hereafter. And I think that the first and foremost step for women living under oppression is to free themselves from that concept of hell.
This isn't really a question, but I would kill myself if I didn't talk to you. When I was 18 years old, I fell in love with a beautiful Somalian woman. And we dated for 5 years. And I was witness to the conflict that was occurring in her family between her mother and father and their, her siblings and her. And it ultimately tore our relationship apart. We tried and tried and tried. And I watched as she struggled between Western secular ideas and the ideas that she had been raised under. And just so happens we're still friends. And I talked to her, told her that I'd be seeing you this week. And she said, if you get an opportunity, tell her thank you. And I just want to express her gratitude and mine for your stand and your beauty and your wonderful, wonderful opposition to what is ailing this planet. Thank you.
First, I want to say that your book was inspiring to me and full of fascinating details. I'm going to speak a little bit more about it later this evening in my own talk. And I have a question which actually echoes a point that was just made. You have, with incredible courage, walked away from your Muslim tradition, your Muslim heritage. You've stepped out of it. There are some very brave Muslim women who are trying to stay within the church and reform it from within. I think, for instance, of Irshad Manji in Toronto. And I wonder if you have anything to say about whether you think you, now really completely outside Islam, can help other women in Islam liberate themselves and change Islam itself, or do you think that's just hopeless and it's atheism or nothing?
First, I want to say, ideally, I also did not want to get out. I wanted to be a part of my family and my clan, and I wanted to belong, and it was very difficult. Unlike Irshad, I had a conversation with Irshad and was like, strategically, it's better to remain inside and change things from within. And I told her, but what about the dissonance? I mean, I can carry on for 5 minutes and pretend to be a Muslim. But after a while, I just can't. And I can't deal with that kind of I can't deal with that kind of self-deception. It's just what I've liberated myself from. And then the next question is, but if my father and if my mother, I have to make a choice, but they also have to make a choice. And if they have to make a choice between me or their God and hell, then they put me in this world, and it's a choice they have to make. And I've declared my love for them, and I'm open to that. And the dissonance that comes with their choice, that of parents having to choose between what they believe in me, their child, for me the same was a dissonance between being appalled and disgusted by what Muhammad has to say and what is in the Quran, and then pretending to all the people with whom I belong, that's fine, but you can change it and you can twist around. I could not live with that dissonance. I know people who can't live with it. I know people who have gone mad. I know people who just try and glide out of it, others who go into apathy. And people like Irshad think that strategically it's very efficient and you can change it from within. Is it effective or is it efficient? I think I can put the same question to you and Richard Dawkins and Sam Harris. When you write these books, what do you expect? Do you expect you're going to have any influence on people who are believers? Personally, I think what you should do. No, I will let you answer. I will let you answer in a second. I'll let you answer in a second. But I just want to say, personally, I think when we say help, my definition of helping these women and men is to cause as much dissonance as possible so that it becomes so unbearable. So that it becomes so unbearable that for those of them who do not go mad, at least they can go sane and have them lead their reason. Now you can ask.
No, thank you. I think that's my answer too. That we need as many different approaches as we can to keep the dissonance up. We should expect to be loathed and hated and feared by many. But if we have many different voices speaking to different elements, we have the best chance of not just being written off as a sort of marginalized lunatic fringe.
You're right.
I've read your terrific book, and I'm full of admiration for you, for your having endured all the obstacles that you had to overcome. But now I'm wondering, is it boring? What's your life like? What are you doing now, and is it fulfilling?
It is boring if you have to repeat the same message over and over and over again, believe me. It's tedious. I need intellectual challenge, and I'm not getting as much as I think that I need to get because I'm prepared. Is it fulfilling? I think when the young man who was here tells me about his girlfriend, who is a Somali, who says, greet her, and every email I receive from Somalis and from Muslims, and sometimes even from Christians who say, I recognize what you're talking about, I relate to it, then it's fulfilling. And so it is both boring and fulfilling.
Hi, I just wanted you to remedy my ignorance, and if people know the answer to my question, I apologize, but I'm sure there are a lot of other people in my position. I wanted to ask you about the position, or indeed perhaps even the existence of atheism in majority Muslim societies. Does it exist? If it does, what are its parameters? Did you ever have a private conversation with somebody who confessed perhaps to doubt? Or I guess what I'm getting at is maybe not unrelated to what Dan asked you. Are you the thin edge of a wedge that is beginning to sort of create an atheist space in majority Muslim societies, or is indeed one already there, albeit a very small and covert one?
I read a remark yesterday that Mahmoud Ahmadinejad was in Columbia University, and he claimed that there are no gays in Iran. So if I were to say there are no atheists in Islam, I would be making the same kind of preposterous remark and joke. The thing is, in Islam, you are defined an atheist if you display any form of doubt. If you think that Muhammad as a moral guide might not have had it all correct. If you ask the question, he got the revelation from the angel Gabriel, how does Gabriel look like? And you're already declared an atheist and an infidel. You're not supposed to ask any questions at all. So to be declared an infidel in Islam is, for instance, different from being declared an infidel in Christianity, where you can abolish hell, and you can, like the Dutch Catholic bishop, say, in the churches we can call God Allah and still be a Catholic. You can't do that in Islam. You profess any form of doubt and you are an atheist. I know that there are lots of, when I was growing up and asking the same questions, there are a lot of young people who have and had, and I still meet them, ask the same questions as I have done. and who just don't want to take that last step, would it be correct, would it be accurate to label them atheists? A friend of mine who's a professor in the Netherlands, Paul Clitu, says they're just crypto-atheists. And they know that that is just atheism ultimately, but it's not a conscious atheism like the one I've gone through, as in answering the question, did God make man, or did man make God, and coming to the conclusion God was manufactured by man.
The current state of Islam is far from positive, and the trajectory is downright scary. But do you see a positive vision for the future?
Yeah, I see, yes. Okay, there are those of us who call themselves optimists, and there are those of us who call themselves pessimists. The problem with optimists is you have to draw a line between being optimistic and delusional. With pessimists, you have to draw the line between being a pessimist and paranoid. I consider myself an optimist, but a realist in the sense that Islam is a huge challenge, and it's getting bigger, and the complacency in the West is great. God is the only God, Allah is the only God in town, at least here in the West, and it's a terrible God. So I don't underestimate it. Terrible things might happen, especially with nuclear weapons in the hands of fanatics and other weapons. But I think to give up all hope and to say that, I mean, we are going to be destroyed anyway, let's just lie back and let it happen. No, I haven't quite acquired that attitude yet.
Hello. I have two questions for you. One is a personal one, and one is a little more, it actually takes off on the last question. First of all, you spoke of that moment of freedom when your wings flew, when you left your homeland and came to Holland, France. And what are your inspirations today that continue that movement? First question. And then my second question is, what do you offer me in practical terms as a member of the human race, along with you, in activism here in the United States specifically, to give as far as what we can do to advance, yeah, it's a big one.
Yeah, and I think both questions are interrelated. I mean, it's comfortable to be an atheist and liberal and enlightened, lie back and see religious people and fanatics preach their faith and win hearts and minds and become bigger and bigger, and criticize that and condemn it and do nothing. So at one point, activism becomes inevitable. And it's not because for the sake of activism, but because you want the world to go in a certain direction, and you want people to be, we all want people to be like us, enlightened and reasonable and so on. And we know that that doesn't come easy and it doesn't come cheap, and we have to compete with those people who go from door to door, who go build madrasas, who go build preaching houses and so on, to preach the rivers of modernity and civilization. They just want to take civilization back. People want us to go back into tribalism, because this whole God business is about nothing else than but going back into what I just described among the Somali tribe. Now, having seen that and knowing that, I know that that's not any place I want to go back to. And I'm a pacifist in the sense that I don't want to shoot a gun, so I won't go into the military. But this is then what I can do. I can just as much compete with them and think, if you can't proselytize what you believe in, I'll proselytize what I believe in, and let's see where we end up. And I'd rather have that competition than the sense of powerlessness and inadequacy.